Can I share a story with you? Jesus is at the Last Supper. He's eating a meal with his disciples. He says, one of you is going to betray me. Peter, in his boldness, proclaims to Jesus, not I, Jesus, I would go to the death for you. And Jesus says to Peter, actually, you're going to deny that you even ever knew me, not once, but 3 times. And eventually in the scriptures, this comes to pass, and Peter denies ever knowing Jesus, and he says that it wasn't until he saw Jesus, seeing him do this, that he realized what he did. And it says that Peter ran to the outer fields of the city, and he cried bitterly. We don't know for how long, but I'm sure it was quite a long time. Peter, then, we watch him, leave his position of ministry. He feels inadequate. He feels ashamed. He feels undeserving to even be considered as a disciple of Jesus. He goes back to what he's always known, and that's fishing. Peter and the boys are fishing, and they don't catch anything all night. In the morning, they see this man standing on the shore, and he says, have you guys caught anything? And they say no. He says, throw your nets over, and instantly the nets become filled with fish, and things begin to connect again. John says to Peter, that's Jesus. It says that Peter became so emotional, so flustered, that he jumped off the boat into the water, and he ran towards Jesus. Eventually, in the passage, Jesus pulls Peter aside, like he always does, and he says, Peter, do you love me? Peter says, Lord, you know I love you. He says, feed my sheep. A second time, Jesus asks Peter again. He says, Peter, do you love me? Peter begins to get a little bit more emotional. I'd imagine he wouldn't even be able to look Jesus in the eyes at this point. He says, Jesus, you know all things, and of all things, you know that I love you. He says, protect my sheep. Jesus does it a third time. And I began to think to myself as I was digesting this verse, what Jesus is trying to do is he's trying to break Peter out of this rut, out of this captivity of his own humanity, of his own shame. That he's like, Peter, don't stop ministry. Don't stop chasing me. There are people out there who need you. You are enough. You are my disciple. You are the church. I know you've messed up, but there's more to your story. Don't limit yourself because of your mistakes. They don't define you. And that's my message to you, is that sure, we've messed up. Sure, we are fallen, but we have a cause and a purpose.